This is Phil Stamper, the president of wrestling, and you're watching the 3 Count Podcast. And always remember to trust in Phil.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, and usually there's a roster, but once again, free 99 does not work out. And when you pay your team in hot dogs and handshakes and you run out of hot dogs and you can't give handshakes because of COVID, they don't show up. It is what it is. But enough about me and my sorrow story. Let's go down. So this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring, which means one thing. We have a special guest for you today. That man comes from First State Championships, East Coast Wrestling Association, Evolve, SKPW, ROH, PPW, and more importantly, Maryland Championship Wrestling. He is currently your MCW Heavyweight Champion. Bring it in for Kekoa.
So wait, I'm confused. So you're out of hot dogs?
Yeah, we're out of hot dogs.
This is going to be a very short interview. I already feel it. I wish that would have been brought to my attention beforehand. But you know what? I'm happy I'm here anyway, and thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you were able to set some time off to the side and come hang out with us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's wild, man. It was funny because I've been watching you and I've been watching your career, and one of my friends is friends with you, and that's why I was like, oh, I gotta go out and meet him and bring him on the show because this would be awesome. And so I made the attempt to reach out, and the funny thing is the day that you responded back to me, we were actually making loco mocos at the house. And I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing to have and to talk about.
Nice.
So if you don't know what that is, research and you'll figure it out.
And you're welcome ahead of time.
You're so welcome.
Yes.
One of my friends too, they were telling me because they're back on the island, which by the way, in case people don't know, you're born in Hawaii and you live out here on the East Coast, but but one of my friends was telling me, they're like, yeah, you gotta saute onions and mix it up with the gravy and stuff. And I was like, I have never done this before. And now I will.
Yeah, there's always little tricks of the trade. That's why I love watching different cooking shows where they go back to the islands and they learn like their traditions and just like different things, like different ways to like cook food. Like when I tell people about like just for like pig roasts, all these I would say East Coast, and I know it's elsewhere too, but I generalize it since I'm on this side of the country. But a lot of East Coast methods, they just they throw it on the the beam, and then they just rotisserie style it, and they just cook it like that. And I'm like, you're missing so much flavor. And then when I tell people that they do pig roasts and they cook them in the ground, like they just like kind of ease back a little bit. They're like, I'm sorry, what? Like they put it in the ground, and then you go into explanation about the rocks that they use and the banana leaves and all this other stuff and how long they cook it, and these big festivals that they have. It's insane. It blows their mind, and then it gets them like, oh, I really want to go out there. And then I love seeing about how they talk about the foods will have different flavors because of because of the soil and the lava and everything like that, or just like the salt has a different taste to it because of where it's coming from, because for the same reasons, because from the volcanoes. So man, it's so interesting to hear them kind of dive into that. So there's a whole other world of cooking out there that people just don't know about.
I know. I miss everything about the Polynesian culture. Like when I talk about it, like I was just talking to a few friends of mine today. I was like, man, like I was like, you know what I miss? I miss hanging out with a bunch of guys in the middle of the night with a fire and just doing a haka at the middle of the night for no reason but just to do it. I was like, there's just so much cool shit like with the islands that you won't find anywhere, and not just in like Hawaii, but like in Samoa and like in Maui, like or in just all over. It just blows my mind to think about like all this shit that goes down, and I'm just like, man, this is. I was like, so when I get to talk to people from the islands or people who've been to the islands, like that's usually where my conversations usually end up going off on.
Yeah, it's I try to, now that I've been with my wife for quite some time and I've gotten her, used to different things that I grew up with and different foods or just like things that we say or how we say it and stuff like that. So then, she loves when she sees that I get a kick out of it because of, it's like it's just a different energy. So even just now before we had this call, I know it's not like from the islands itself, but we were watching 51st Dates just because I love watching, Rob Schneider do the Hawaiian character. I love to hear the accent. When I hear people talk pidgin and they got a thick pidgin accent, then yeah, that always makes me smile.
Oh man, I think about it like the times when I was down in Waianae and just getting ahi and just
Mhm.
like and just listen. Yeah, you're right. Just listening to people talk. It's such a unique experience,
Yeah.
and I just love when you ask a question and like you're gonna like someone asks you a question and you're gonna answer, but they answer the question for you, but they're still waiting for your answer.
Yeah.
You're like, shoots, cuz you go down to the island, yeah, and they're like, yeah, yes, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
I'm gonna talk. Let's get into this, right? So, really, my first question is gonna be, who is Kekoa?
So Kekoa is he's a kid that has a story, very similar to a lot of people that can relate to having a dream or having something that they have been wanting to do. And then when they voice that opinion and they get such backlash from people, whether or not it's that people just don't believe in you or they just don't believe that, that dream is a possibility. Um, and I think that's maybe why so many people, kind of, not only just connect with me in a different way, but they can just, I feel like they can feel that, when they meet me or when they talk to me, if they hear like an interview like this, or they come up to me at my merchandise table, they hear, and I think that they can feel the realness of, like this is really who I am. I'm not somebody that's trying to pretend to be a professional wrestler or trying to pretend to be, somebody that they're not. It's something that I feel, this is who I am. And I actually had just made a post like that yesterday. I had posted a picture and I had put in the caption on it that there's a lot of people that get into the world of professional wrestling that are trying to escape and be somebody that they're not. Um, and that's what gives them that thrill. But I'm the complete opposite of it. I'm, in this line of work to be the person that I feel like I am. And again, to backtrack, um, it's not just wrestling that I've always heard that. It's so many different things, so many different avenues or sports or, whatever the case may be. I've heard a lot of times of people just not believing in you. And it's just and Keikoa is somebody that, love to use it as energy and fuel, motivation. And, that's who I am.
That's awesome, though, man. And it is something to be told that like I hear it all the time too. That like just be yourself. Like that's people relate to you versus like
Mhm.
relate to a character, and it's so refreshing to hear someone else say that because like I've seen other people like be a character, but like their character is just it's just a complete 180 of who they are, and it's just like I don't you don't believe it, so why should I believe you about it?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel it's there's always times where fans can see somebody on camera or they go to a show and they see them live and they can sense it. They might not know, what exactly is wrong, like when they watch somebody and then they just go like, I don't know what it is, but I didn't like that guy. I don't dislike him, but I just didn't like that person. And I think that that's a big part of it is just, something, a compliment that I've always gotten from fans and colleagues is when they watch me, just come out and do my entrance, or they see me in the ring, or even afterwards at merchandise. I've had so many people tell me like they just see how much passion that I have for what I do and how much I love it, which is true, and it exudes off of me. I don't even try to. It's just like it's just a different feeling when when the camera's on. It's just a different thing. So I think that's why, again, it's a big thing of why I feel like I've been very blessed in this line of work as compared to others.
That's that's wild. And it's funny we're gonna talk about like this kind of line of work because I was gonna ask you like what's been like one of the hardest things to being a pro wrestler?
Before I would say probably the biggest thing is your personal life. It's it's always been, something that's been frustrating, whether you miss birthdays, you miss anniversaries, or, get-togethers. Something for me, I have my circle of friends, and, they all have 9 to 5s, and there's nothing wrong with that by any means, but the weekend is their money time where they all get together and they get to go out and do things. Well, the weekend is, my work, so it sucks for me every time I get invited on Facebook to a group gathering where they're going, tubing down the river or something like that, and then they're like, "Oh, I hope you can make it," and I'm like, "I hope I can too." It's like so it's been that, or relationships in the past, because it takes a special kind of person to be with somebody that does what I do, and that's why it's been such a huge breath of fresh air when I met my wife. When we had first started dating, because for those that don't know, my wife is in the wrestling business. We actually met on a show, and we started riding together. And then obviously, one thing led to another, and we started dating, and then it just made everything so much more better. And what sucks is, I grew up, or excuse me, when I got into wrestling, I was always told like, don't date in wrestling, like don't date another wrestler. And I thought, and as I got further into the business, I realized that it was such an old school mindset, because people tell you not to date another wrestler because it's going to cause jealousies or controversy, maybe some tension between the couple. And it's like it's not going to cause any friction or any tension if those two people actually love each other and they only want the best for each other, and it makes each other happy to see the other person succeed. It's kind of like the same person that says like, "Oh yeah, I was married once, never get married, kid, like marriage will kill you." It's like, well, you just met the wrong, you got married to the wrong person. And that's why it's been so amazing to be with my wife, because it's the easiest thing that I've ever done.
Yeah, you make up an interesting point because I know my wife, when I met her, uh, she was like, I'm never dating another dude in the military. Dude was like the dude she dated before was just a bad dude. And
Mm.
then so she met me and lo and behold, I'm in the military.
I'll make an exception.
Yeah. And then we started dating and then, long story short, like we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary back
Oh,
in
that's great.
August. So
Congrats.
thanks. And and it's something to be said for her because she's had to travel. We've traveled everywhere, not just because of
Hmm.
me, but because of her too. Because when I met her, you'll love this too. She was working at Sea Life Park
Okay.
as an aquarist, and then became a
Oh,
dolphin trainer, and now she's still in that field. So
that's awesome.
yes.
I'm so jealous. I wanted to. My wife and I just went on our honeymoon 2 years ago, and no, no, it was actually last year. It was last winter. Yeah, so 1 year ago. And man, like I was so dead set on swimming with dolphins. Like that was something that I wanted to do so bad. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We had it planned for the last day we went on a cruise, and unfortunately, it was too windy for us to dock. So they're like, "Yeah, we can't do anything." I'm like, "Of course, on the last day, the day that we were looking forward to, so." But now that I'm moving to Florida and I'm close to all that stuff, I'm like it's on the to-do list. It's on the to-do list within the next couple months.
Bet, bet. Well, that's crazy because I was like, yo, man, because if you're here in Maryland, I got the hookup.
I will come. I will come. It's not like I'm leaving MCW,
Yeah.
so I will be in town at some point, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. So one time when COVID all passes and they start letting people like fully
Yes.
come back and sit in the crowds and stuff, we can definitely get that in.
Awesome.
Because yeah, it's an experience, like you said. So getting into it, man, like so, like I know, and it's funny because we're like geeking over here over like dolphins and whatnot. So every wrestler has them, every ring announcer, every personality that's in the business has one, and I just want to know yours. What's been like one of your favorite fan interactions?
Man, I have a lot. Again, like I said, I've been really blessed and fortunate. Like so for instance, there's a family that I've known for a long time. When I first got into wrestling and I was wrestling in New Jersey, they had gone to a wrestling show and their daughter, who was, I believe, 7 at the time, instantly became one of my fans. And I am still in contact with that family today. They don't get to, go to the shows as often as they did when she was younger, but, this was, she's an adult now. I'm pretty sure she's 19 now. So this was over 12 years ago. But she's still a big fan of mine, and them knowing that this is going to be this coming weekend is going to be my last show in the Northeast. Before I move to Florida, like this family is making sure that they come out, to come see me. So that's it. Just always seeing them and just like I got to watch this kid grow. Like it kind of makes me feel old, and I'm only in my 30s. That's always been cool. One story that I always talk about that sticks out is, a mom had reached out to me at one point, and said that she has two young sons, and they argue over who gets to be Kekoa when they wrestle each other. So like, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, there's just been so many times where like, something happens and then, a family reaches out to me or, like the parents, and it really just it makes you realize again, like even though that we're not on this, big WWE level or, big international level by any means, that you could still make such a tremendous impact on somebody, which is always just amazing. You always got to think about those moments when, life might not be going your way. You got to think about the bigger picture. So yeah, I've been very, very, very fortunate.
That's awesome, man. And I actually like the story about the two kids, like who's gonna fight to be you. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's one of those things where you like, how can I have like a bad day? Like when things do get bad, you like, as hard as it always is, when you say, just think about the positive, just think positivity. Yeah, of course, like, it's going to be always tough for people, but then, there's just times where just for example, like with us, getting back into, wrestling shows recently and signing an autograph, and then I realized like, oh crap, I haven't signed an autograph in a while, and I'm like, oh, I forgot how much I missed just like talking to fans and signing autographs. And it's like, you look at the person next to you and they probably wish that somebody would, pay $10 to come see them do something, so it's all these little things that are probably huge to other people that you just really have to get, you have to remember, because could be gone, or like I said, some people don't get to experience these things, so count your blessings.
Definitely. So actually that's leads into something else I want to talk about. Like
Awesome.
it's fun, like the conversation just kind of flows well. So talking about counting blessings and stuff like that, I'm just kind of curious, like what advice would you give to up and coming wrestlers?
The best, or the advice that I give the most to people that are getting in this line of work is, you have to be real with yourself and you have to have a real conversation with yourself. The reason that I say that is because um, I'm very protective of the word professional wrestling. Um, I am somebody that I'm caught in the middle of how wrestling is nowadays. I very much believe that there's always a place for somebody in the world of professional wrestling. Obviously, I don't have any, feelings or reasons why I don't think that somebody should go chase their dream and get into this profession, because it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. But with that being said, there's a clear definition or a clear line between what I consider a professional wrestler and an independent wrestler. And by all means, if somebody wants to be, an independent wrestler, quote unquote, and they want to, wrestle on the weekends, they just want to wrestle in their hometown, they want to do it once a month or, as a hobby, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just don't play that way, So with that being said, when I see people get into this line of work, I try to tell them, like, you have to distinguish yourself. Are you going to be an independent wrestler, or are you going to be a professional wrestler? If you're going to be a professional wrestler, then you better look like one, you better act like one, you better carry yourself like one, you better train like one, you better diet like one. Like, there's a clear difference. Something that I like to reference is The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. I forget which episode it was, but he was talking about how he approaches the game, and he basically says, like, this is the way I approach the game. If you don't approach it that way, then don't play with me. And I look at it the same way, and that's why I'm so happy to be with MCW, and there's other people that I surround myself with, because we're on that same mindset. So again, that's always the advice that I give. If you want to give this your all, like your true all, then do it. But if it's not going to be your thing, like, again, if you just want it to be a hobby, that's fine. But, like, make sure you stay on one side of the fence or the other.
That's great advice.
I hope. I don't know. I think it might be, but then again, it's something that that I know that has carried with my reputation. I'm very blunt. When people ask me, for advice, like, if I see something that I can give you advice on, then I'll give it to you. I think people also misinterpret the way that, maybe I critique things or I might give advice for, because, again, they might just not be used to that. They might not be used to that, like, just direct answer type thing. But again, I'm just being real with you. And if nobody else is going to be real with you, then you're not going to get better.
Right. That's such a great way of thinking, man. It's definitely something that I'm going to take note of and just make sure I jot down. Because
Awesome.
I'll be honest, I just got started in the business back in January of this year, which was a perfect time. Which was a perfect time to start. Perfect time.
Perfect time to start and take a nice little vacation.
Take a great vacation. So yeah, I started, and then it was funny because, like, and it's funny how you mentioned it, right? So I started training, and then obviously COVID happens, right? And then March, instead of sitting back and saying, oh, well, I can't train, so I'm just gonna go and just mope around the house, I invested in DDP yoga. I went and got, I'm not gonna front, like, I didn't, but my buddy does beach body, so I borrowed his. Actually, I traded him DDP, my DDP login for his Beachbody login. Can't make money work. And then started watching videos from Santino Bros, right? And just look and listen and take notes. And when and I started this podcast. Actually, this podcast started because of coronavirus. So
there you go.
I wanted to get advice from people who were in positions that I wanted to get to. And so how else am I going to do that? I was like, yeah, I'm going to go search out the answers and find what I want to do and talk to people I need to talk to and learn and shut up, take notes and ask questions.
Yeah. And that's great because, I have, the same type of mindset, and something that, really bugs me too about, I don't want to use the term this generation because that makes me feel old again. But I would say the younger guys and girls that are getting into the business is they have the world at their fingertips with the internet and these smartphones, like things that I hate to say this because I sound old, but I didn't have these things, when I first got into wrestling. Like, yeah, the internet was getting huge, like I was, MySpace was huge and there was no Facebook at the time. But like everyone was so protective of this information and this knowledge that they knew. They didn't want to give it away for free. Like you go on YouTube right now or you go on Google, you could find diet plans, workout plans, everything that you need to know about the world is on the internet, because people give this stuff away for free so they can get subscribers and then people pay for advertisements and so on and so. There's ways that people can make money now with giving this information away for free. It wasn't like that back in the day. You had to go and, pay a personal trainer to learn these things, or you had to, be friends with somebody that knew about it, like you had to do all this extra work, and then it's frustrating to me, when somebody comes up and they ask me a simple question, and I don't mind helping somebody, but when I get asked a question and I'm like, I feel like you could have Googled that, like that, like that's just something to me. And I'm not upset with that person by any means. Again, they're doing the thing, like they're looking for the advice, they're looking for the answers. But I'm just so used to having to do everything on my own and figure things out, So then when you get a simple question like that, because I'm like, if I was watching The Office and I saw a background character and I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is, I guarantee somebody would take the next 10 minutes to be like, okay, well, this was the cast of the whole episode and they look like this person. Oh, that was their name. Oh, they were also in this movie. Like they know the information like that, on something that has nothing to do with anything. It's just a simple question. But now, like, this is your line of work. This is something that you feel is your, like, everything. And then it's like, oh, hey, what kind of protein shake should I have? I'm like, what? like, dive into the diet, but again, it's the give and take.
Right.
I'm always willing to help, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I feel like you could have found that. You could have found that answer.
You could have looked that up. I tell people all the time. The one thing I tell people, and it's fun, like, and we can trace story, because you keep talking about how you're in your 30s, and I'll show you my age. I got invited to Facebook from my college email. That's how old I am.
So you were the target audience of Facebook when it came out.
Yeah, I think
which that was me. I was in college when Facebook started to take off. So yeah, I'm around there.
Yeah, I learned to code on MySpace. I had a top 32. I didn't have a top 8.
There you go.
I was in Facebook when it was like and poke. That's what I did.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just I like I said, I'm always here to help guys. But to go back to what you were saying, like you saw that the world is shut down. You can't go to training. Well, you have to learn elsewhere. Like you're not going to stop. And I was the same way with, now I don't have new matches under my belt. I'm not getting critique from anybody. So I was literally at the point, because I want to keep learning. I want to hear from the best of the best. So I was actually on Cameo looking to see who does video cameos, where you actually like interact with them. You don't just get the video message from them. Because I was going to pay somebody, if there was like a WWE legend or, some legend in wrestling, I was going to pay them for 10 minutes of their time, be like, yo, watch this match and tear it apart. Like just give me any type of critique that you can. Like I was on that level of like, I'm not getting better. I have to find a way to get better right now, other than continuing to train, make sure that I'm staying on my diet and my exercise, while the world is shut down. Like I have to find a way to get better and get to that next level, even though the world is not letting me right now. So again, like that's the type of, when I think about the lengths that I go to try to get better, that's the comparison that I'm at. But again, I'm a different person, I guess.
That's such a good idea. I never thought about like, hey, yo, come to Cameo and check out my YouTube page because I want to see if I can bring you on as an interview, like, or to critique my matches. Like that's such a great idea. Like, I never thought about it.
There you go. Steal it.
I mean, yo, thank Kekoa for this one. Hey, all right. So, next question that's coming up for you, man, is like, you like you said, you're moving to Florida. So, in the next 5 years, man, where do you see yourself?
That's a question I never like to answer. And the reason that I never like to answer it is because, um, I've had so many life experiences, so many near death experiences that it's it's difficult for me to say wherever I'm going to be in a certain time frame because you never know where life is going to take you. Like there was times where I didn't think I was going to have another second on this earth because of things that I've gone through. So, it really puts you in perspective of like, you know, you can have a plan, but like the plan it might not always work or it might be delayed and all these other things. Like hell, I'm about to leave for Florida in a few days. If you asked me in July what I'm going to do next year, there was nothing on the radar of me moving to Florida. But then you fast forward 1 month later in August and it was all right, maybe it's time for me to move to Florida. And then fast forward like from the time that I first popped into my mind, a week later it was okay, yeah, we're moving to Florida. So my life completely changed, in that quick of okay, yeah, this is the decision and here we go. So if you would have asked me in January, what do you want to accomplish by the end of the year? Moving to Florida wouldn't have been that answer. So it's so hard for when I get asked that question of like, where do you see yourself in 3, 5, 10 years? I don't know. I don't know. I know what the goal is. The goal is to be, a WWE wrestler, AEW wrestler, wherever I'm wrestling, and it's all that I have to worry about is wrestling. Wrestling is the only concern. That's always been the goal. How or when I get there, I don't know. We'll see when that happens.
That that that's great, man. But that's all for like the hard hitting questions that like you get slammed with. But we do have the best segment on this program, which is called the 3 Count Podcast 10 Count Questions. And here's how it works. We're gonna fire off a bunch of questions at you rapid quick. So whatever first answer comes to your mind.
Ready.
All right. So I'm gonna put the imaginary timer on the clock. Bing.
Boom.
And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite color?
Orange.
Best tribal tattoo that you have seen?
Ooh, that I've seen? That's tough to say what I've seen because I don't know what the story is behind it. So the best one that I've seen is on my left arm, which is for my wife.
See, that's the best one. So favorite movie?
Too many to pick, but Ghostbusters has always been the legendary movie that I love.
I like that. I like that a lot. One match you want to have?
Randy Orton.
There you go. Oh, damn. All right. Favorite animal?
Dogs.
Let's go. Batman or Superman?
Batman. By far.
By far. Favorite podcast?
Oh, the 3 Count.
Oh, of course.
Easy answer. Easy answer.
It's the best podcast out there. Nominate one person you want to see on this podcast.
Well, I don't like to even mention his name, but I guess Joey Martinez would always be. He's got some good stories. He's a character. He's entertaining. I'll give him that. Joey Martinez would be a decent guest to have on. Awesome. I guess.
Yes, if you had to pick one, I guess it'd be him.
Sure.
And last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person on this podcast: favorite curse word?
Fuck. My God, it's such a good word. It's such an amazing word. It can be used so many different ways. It's such a stress reliever. It's such an emphasis on something good, something bad. Like there's just so much you could use with it. It's so universal. And what I'm proud of is as terrible as it probably is to say, when my wife and I, when we first started dating, she didn't cuss at all. Like she was afraid of cussing. She was brought up in that type of household where she wasn't allowed to even say it around her parents. Like if they heard it, she was dead. And there was times where we would be like on a roller coaster and she cussed, but I can't hear her because we were on the roller coaster, and she's like, "Oh, good, you didn't hear me." And then at one point I heard her cuss in the car. I think she said shit. And I like kind of stopped and was like, "What did you say?" And now she's a goddamn sailor. she's just as bad as I am. And but it's awesome just to, because now like she uses it in that same context, whether it's something good or something bad. It's such a stress reliever. So I'm proud that we've molded together.
It's funny because like it's funny how you talk about it, right? Because like with my daughter, right? Um, like people are like very gun shy about like cursing around her, and the first thing I tell them like, listen, I was in the military. Her mom's from Massachusetts. That's all you need to know. Don't
Mhm.
worry, because whatever you gotta say, I'm sure she's already heard it before.
Yeah, my nieces and nephews, they were brought up basically the same way, where like they heard every word in the book. You just have to teach them like just be respectful around the people that you know that you can't use it around. That's
Right.
all, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that guy Gary V, he was talking about how his kids cuss, and he's like, I don't see that as a problem. Like I have other things to worry about. And then he actually had like a parent teacher meeting with one of the teachers, and they're like, you have to tell your daughter to stop cursing. He's like, I'm not going to tell her to do that. I don't care.
No. And look at that man. That man makes millions upon millions of dollars.
He's doing all right. He's
He's
doing
doing
all right.
okay. He's doing okay. But that is a 10 count questions. So my only thing for you, this is last but not least, man, tell our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
So everybody can follow me on Instagram and the Twitter. You can follow me at Kekoa Pro. Those are the best ways to keep up to date with what's going on. Instagram is the number one. Keep up to date with me on what's going on in the professional world and the personal world. Facebook is I'm not really on Facebook. I mean I am, but I try not to be. There's too much drama on there. At least with Instagram, it's just pictures. It's a lot easier. Um, so yeah, definitely follow me on Instagram, and hope you guys make it out to ECWA this Saturday, which will be my farewell to the Northeast before I move to Florida. Tickets are very limited with COVID because they are taking their precautions, making sure that everybody is distanced by their 6 feet, wearing masks. So there's only a certain amount of people left allowed in the building, and that includes the staff. That includes me. So make sure that you go to ecwawrestling.com, I believe the website is. But if you type in ECWA Wrestling, you'll be able to find it. Get your tickets in advance. Make sure that you don't get to the door and they're completely sold out, because the last couple shows have been completely sold out. So come out and check out my last show. And if not, just check me on social media.
Bet. And that's where you guys can find him. So, with that being said, this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. And like we said, this is Kekoa. Got to get the emphasis in there. You can't just can't say it nonchalantly. It's not going to
Exactly.
work.
No.
But you guys tune into the next episode and be there or be somewhere else. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3count_pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At prowrestlingtees.com/the 3Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.